Hey, meanwhile, the White House experimenting with some new rules for the press corps, like you could only ask one question if you point your camera at the wall. The president of the White House Correspondents Association wants that changed to more on-camera briefings. He claims it's the best thing for your country.
We represent the American people insofar as we're doing our constitutionally protected jobs of journalism. The White House, of course, and the president were elected by the American people. So I'm not in a tug of war about who's representing whom. But what we are advocating for is the Constitution and the protections that are provided by that.
So does this move by the White House mean less transparency, or is it not a big deal? Let's join a fair and balanced debate right now. Alex Pfeiffer's with us. He's a White House correspondent for the Daily Caller, and Todd Gilman's here. He's with the Washington bureau chief for the Dallas Morning News and a member of the White House Correspondents Association. And let's start with you, Todd. Todd, are you upset by the new rules?
Well, absolutely. And it's not really rules so much as practice. They have just day by day scaled back on the number of on-camera briefings and broadcastable briefings. This is severely curtailing the opportunity and ability of TV networks, radio networks, and even other types of media which like to use the audio to question senior officials and hold them to account. Viewers and voters need to be able to judge the credibility of the people running the government, and the only way they can do that is to see them and hear them.
Alex, do you feel as though your reporting is going to be hamstrung now?
Oh, I mean, we still get to read what Sean Spicer or Sarah Huckabee Sanders say at the briefings. They're still on the record in these off-camera briefings. Just for 30 minutes, we can't hear them. People can still live tweet out what's happening. I think the people who are hurt most by these off-camera briefings are cable newscasters who want to get a nice TV clip. But the American people still get to read or hear what Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Sean Spicer say on news websites, newspapers, and on cable news that plays the audio after.
Todd, it's pretty clear how we got to this point. Where it doesn't seem like this administration's being treated like the previous. I'm not saying there was never tension before in the press room. There always seems to be a little bit. But don't you think sometimes it's almost over the top, or maybe 90% of the time over the top?
You know, I've been covering the White House on and off since the first term of George W. Bush. There is always tension. There is always grandstanding at press briefings, both by reporters and by senior officials standing behind the podium. What's going on now, curtailing these on-camera briefings, is not to cut back the temperature or the grandstanding. It's to reduce the opportunity of much of the press corps to do their job properly. I think the founders would find it extraordinary to say the First Amendment is okay for you print guys, and I am a print guy. They would find it not okay to say it's okay for the print people to have their opportunity to get the words, but not for broadcasters. How many people only pay attention to words? Our electorate, our elections, our politics are driven largely by broadcast media.
So rather than you say, Sean Spicer told me today, you'd rather hear Sean Spicer say it.
I'd rather have the voters and the citizenry have the opportunity to judge for themselves whether Sean or anybody else behind the podium is credible when we ask questions and they either answer them or they say we don't know or haven't bothered to ask the president about why Comey was fired or whether there are tapes. They should know what is being done in their name.
Alex. Now, we also see what CNN did. Now, they have to actually have sketch artists out there, kind of like one of those closed-down courtroom situations. But do you feel as though the press brought this on themselves, even though Todd doesn't see it that way? I've watched a ton of these briefings, and I've never seen it. So contentious.
Well, this has brought some bipartisan agreement here. Sean Spicer told Laura Ingraham in a radio interview on Tuesday that he doesn't like the on-camera briefings because he thinks reporters ask snarky questions to get clips. And now, Clinton press secretary, Bill Clinton's press secretary, former press secretary Mike McCurry, who started the live televised briefings, told Politico in November that he regrets the decision. He doesn't think they should be carried live unless there's, some big news event. And he has the same reasoning as Sean. He thinks, people are there asking the same questions as each other just to get a nice TV clip. And going to what Todd said about the American people watch broadcast news, that's true. But it's not like, CNN or Fox News or MSNBC doesn't cover the president's comments if he says them to the AP. I don't think The president would be attacked if he did a string of 10 print interviews in a row. So just for 30 minutes of time, broadcast coverage of press briefings is a little hurt. Right. But I don't see how that's, really damaging the American public.
Yeah, we'll see what goes from here. Things are changed. Things are changing. We'll see how it affects the stories being covered. Alex and Todd, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, straight ahead. More of Ainsley's exclusive interview with Ivanka Trump. It turns out she and her father don't always agree. More on that next. Plus, she was fired from her job as a professor for saying